Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is, interestingly enough, and baffling to me. I don't know how I got here, but here we are doing our 100th video for the station. And I say we because everyone out there helped make this happen. And I had something totally different planned for today. And then I realized, as I say, it was the 100th video. And I thought it has to be something special. And so I went to sleep with that in mind, and lo and behold, when I woke up early in the morning, I got the idea that I was meant to do a video really about memories of a coffee shop tarot reader, which I was for many years. And it is something quite unique, challenging, scary, enlightening, everything that goes along with that. And I was going to use the cloth that I used when I went reading. I was going to put on the fancy lace gloves, but you can see I didn't. And those are the things that I used to always go to the coffee shop with. I had the bag that I showed you, what was in a witch's bag. There was a video about that. Everything that went along with it to set myself up in a coffee shop for reading. But we've got to step back a bit because there's some images in this deck. I'm highlighting the images from the Everyday Enchantment Tarot created by Poppy Palin. And I think I was introduced to this video by watching The Hermit's Cave because he talked about her quite often. And I did watch some of her videos on the creation of the cards, and then I ordered my own. And just in the last month, it's been appearing in my vision as I walked through my tower of tarot shelves. And I thought, I've got to use that deck. How am I going to use it? And I think today is the day. And I feel I need to connect better with this deck. I enjoyed the images before, but it wasn't a heart-to-heart connection. And bringing this idea forward and looking through the cards and actually choosing cards that reminded me of moments as a tarot reader in a coffee shop. I thought that fascinating, and I can feel and sense the bond growing with this deck. Now, Poppy, she passed away May 26, 2022, and she is the author and artist of this deck. And so I send a heartfelt wish out to her, wherever she is. And I thought I'd also show you a little bit about the book. And you can see I have tags on pages. And the idea, excuse me, is to show you some of the cards I picked and talk about being in the coffee shop and the experiences I had, how I got there, and everything that I feel I accomplished by doing just that, because it was a very intense learning experience. I'm just going to get a swig of water. There you're seeing the beautiful backs. Of Poppy Palin's cards. They are oracle size to me, quite large. I did contemplate cutting off the borders at one time, and I'm glad I didn't. So I thought, here's the back, enjoy it with all its beauty, and let's turn it over and begin the story. So there you're looking at the Five of Cups, and I'll zoom in. And I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know why. There's an energy in the room. And I'm excited to work with it, and I'm excited to share the story with you. So this goes back about, 20-some years ago when I was living in BC. I won't mention the town. And it all started with the want and the desire to take what I was learning as a tarot reader from self-study, and that's all fine and dandy, but there comes a time when I needed to know how the cards actually worked for people. Now, the Five of Cups is a card that I can relate to on the journey because just before I was to start this, my father passed away. Now, we were not exceptionally close until after he died. Then he came and visited all the time. And it was within a couple days that he came and visited. And I'm just now noticing this figure of a man here. And he has been a friend, like the dog here, and a connection to the other side. Now, tarot cards and working with ancestors and dream work was not something that he could comprehend. He was all logic and reason. And I didn't get a lot of that inherited. But the Five of Cups came at the time when he had just passed. And I can remember standing with my bag, the witch's bag, all packed, all ready, all dressed up, fired up, ready to go. And it was a bi-level house, and I just got to the bottom of the stairs, and all this emotion started flooding in. And I sensed it was him. And I said, not now. This is not the time. I have a job to do. And so I thanked him for being with me, and I felt it was like an encouragement. But I was set and determined that I was going to do this and run down to the coffee shop and start. And what a adventure that was. So that is the card that represented the start. Now, as I say, with the Three of Cups, and I am going to look at the information in here that Poppy gave me, because there's words in here that they stimulated even more memories for me of what was going on at that time and why I wanted to be a tarot reader. So we're looking at the Three of Cups there. And to me, when I was looking through the cards this morning, it felt like being back in the restaurant. I did have a couple girls sit down at a time, and I did readings for them. And there was that energy between us. And this reminds me so much of the coffee cups and the small table that I had to work on, and the connections that I was making with the community. And that was what it was all about. I needed to get out in the community. I need to make some friends and share my gift. I did consider it a gift with other people that were like-minded. Now, when I look at the Three of Cups in the book, Poppy does mention about companionship and connections, and that we don't need to deal with things alone, because at home I was alone going through the cards, and that's not really the most beneficial when you're learning. You learn by listening to others as you read the cards for them. And there's that support available when we reach out. And then she goes on to say that this gregarious card encourages us to put ourselves out there, extend our hand to those we see every day, but don't yet know. And isn't a coffee shop a wonderful place for that? Perhaps someone nearby is yearning for a smile or a kind word. And when I read for other people, I'm trying to uplift them and let the cards speak and guide them. Now is the time to be sociable and welcoming and creating new networks and becoming more involved in the community. And that is exactly what I was trying to do. So now we'll go on to the next card. And this is the Seven of Coins. And so we as artists and creative people, we have our passions and we pour it into our gifts and we create great treasures. And then it's how do we get it out to the world? So this represented me sitting with all the tarot decks I had, the research I had done, and now what do I do with it all? So in looking at the Seven of Coins and Poppy's versions, some of the words bring up ideas for me. If I only had 10 lifetimes to get everything just right, and if you're an artist of any kind, you'll know what I mean. We're always spurred by that hunger for perfection. And yes, I wondered if, as I say, what I was learning was good enough. Would the ideas that have presented from different books and different authors be enough to help me read for someone else? And I wanted it to be perfect. So then she goes on and she says, or should I keep on allowing what I do to unfold naturally? And I had that thought that, I just want to put myself out there and see if this works for anyone. I could really do with some confirmation that my work is worthwhile. So sitting down with someone else and reading for them, would it be worthwhile? Could I inspire people? Could I help them focus and give them some ideas on how to move forward? And she also says, what will likely come of our actions if we proceed? Well, sometimes we don't know. We just have to put ourselves out there. And to me, a 7 is a little bit of a struggle. And coins represent security sometimes. So it would be a little bit unnerving, I guess I could say, to put myself out as a tarot reader. And it does bring back some memories when I look at this card, because I did want it to be perfect and I wanted it to look good. It's like setting up a booth at a fair. There's a certain placement that when maybe we practice when we're at home and we have our signs. And oh, this reminds me of that. I had my cloth on the table and I took a candle just like this. And then I had a sign about this size that was two-sided, and like this canopy here with the streams of flags. It was my flag that I put out there saying 15 minutes, $15. And then they gave them a little break if they did 30 minutes and another little break if they did an hour. And this I would prop up on my table if it was my sign. I know it's the box right now, but this is representing my sign that I put on the table. And I had some beads around there. But you got to leave room for the cards. That's important too. But it's like taking as much as I could to make the scene set perfect and then inviting people in. And would there be that exchange of coin? And would I have the patience to sit there and wait for people to notice what I was doing? And it just was unnerving the first couple times. I would get myself all primped and ready and read my little cheat sheets the night before, bless my deck, get down there, clear the deck, set the table, get myself a tea, and try to look like I wasn't waiting for someone, but I was. And I'd have my little book that I pretend that I was reading, and it would be reading the same page over and over as I watched people come through the door and watch their reactions. And all you're looking for is, like the dog, a friendly little moment or two that you can share with and talk about what you do. And I look at the birds here and I think of the chatter that some people can get up to when we do a tarot reading, and the hustle and bustle that goes on in a coffee shop behind the scenes. And it's amazing how much I could zone all that out when I was doing my readings for someone. It's like everyone else in the shop disappeared and there was just me and this other person. And no, I wasn't getting handfuls of money, but it made me feel like I did have something of value to offer. And if I look any more at the book here, the last little bit was a crucial evaluation point and being at the crossroads. Yes, this would tell me, do I have something that can help other people? And I see the cushions here and I think of comfort. Can I offer it to them in a comforting manner? And can I ask for money? Because some people, they often said in the books years ago that it's a gift and you shouldn't ask for money. But, I had expenses too. And if I did well, it was an exchange. And I'm talking maybe a couple, 2, 3 readings. And it was an exchange in that afterwards, when it calmed down at maybe 2:30, then I would go to the counter at the coffee shop and order a lunch or order a special coffee and a dessert and clean up my stuff and just sit there and enjoy the food and think about the readings that I had done and make notes in the little book that I had. So that was another card that brought a lot of thought to me. Now we're on to number 3. Hang tight. Now this gentleman here, for me, represented the store owner. And I did approach him. I went there for a coffee with my husband, and when things weren't busy, I approached him and said, hey, would it be okay? Would you mind? Are you open to the idea of coming to your store? You're the owner of the store. Could I come do some tarot readings and see how it goes? And he was over the moon, welcoming. And when I look in the book, it says his smile is warm and his gentler side shows. And my business is like my family, and I do anything to defend them. So if you'll join my company, you'll have the same privileges. And wasn't that true? To fact. Because I had some people coming in that did not appreciate what I was doing, did not want me in the coffee shop. And he stood behind the counter and defended me and said, she has every right to be here. I have welcomed her. She's hurting no one. She's helping people. And she's, a happy spot in the coffee shop. Move along. So that was nice. And he was a shield. He was an advisor. And whoever he considers his tribe will be defended. And if we're on his team, he has our back. He may not be spontaneous, expressive, or a bundle of laughs, but if we're committed to him, he'll offer security unfailingly. Yes, he was. Okay, so now I have to think. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on to card number 5. So if I find that one, hang tight here. Okay, I'm back. So the High Priestess card was something I could really relate to. And again, referring to Poppy's information. A lot goes on below the surface if only we look. Come lift the shabby veil of predictability that's being pulled over your eyes and look beyond. And I felt I had that privilege to do that for people I was reading for. And that brought to mind one reading that I did for a woman. She pre-booked it. We sat down. She shuffled the cards. We laid them out. And the first couple cards, I noticed that it was probably an ancestor who wanted to talk. And I mentioned that to this woman. And she said, but we're not going to talk about that. I said, you have to realize when you shuffle the cards, you may have a question. You didn't share that with me, but the cards want to talk about this. And she says, no, but I don't talk about that to anyone. Okay, so is the reading over or are we continuing? And we did continue, and it was a conversation I think she didn't want to have, but I was very careful in my approach. I sort of snuck up on it with her. I had some knowledge of what I was seeing in the card. I could understand there was some secrets there, but the book had been opened and we needed to reflect on that. And so at the end, when we got through it, she thanked me very much. And in a couple of days, she called, and that person who came through in the reading had passed in 2 days. And I felt honored to have been able to talk to her through the cards about that person and her feelings. And that was really eye-opening. It really does pull back that veil and the things that are hidden, that if we delve deep enough and we reflect on it, there's something there. So I can't delay too long. I don't know how much memory this phone will have, but we're going to continue here. And this is with the Queen of Cups. Let's see what Poppy has to say. Now, the title is A Flood of Feelings, and you do get that as a tarot reader when you read for people. And I like how it's similar, that all the background disappears and just that one person that you're working with is the center of your vision. And it says, "Hello, sweetheart. How you doing? Love to see you again." And I did have people return. It is interesting, though, that not everyone who gets a tarot reading follows the advice, and we all have that free will. I used to tell people you can walk out the door and turn left or right. That is totally up to you. But I always read the cards with a 3 to 6 months, and the cards build, they stack up, and each one interacts with the other ones. And I would say, you know, the heart of the matter, this is 3 months. The staff of the Celtic Cross, this is 6 months. And however fast you choose to move forward, or whatever path you decide to take, is totally up to you. And then come back for another reading, and some of the cards would repeat. And I had to be full of happiness for them. I had to read the cards again and try to reinforce what they were saying. But a person can only move at their own pace and make those changes if they want. We can only be there to share, I guess, in the moment of what Spirit wants to tell them. And maybe if they hear it enough, they will make those changes. But some people are so fearful. They want to know, but they can't make those changes. And that's for another video. I think we should go on. The Nine of Blades. Now this one is, you know, I don't have to read everything from Poppy. I just found the cards so stimulating. The Nine of Blades was talking to me about waking up at night and say, should have said that in the tarot reading. Missed that. Oh, now I can see the relation of those two cards and how they come together. But then I had to give myself a friendly little talk and say, look it, you said what you needed to say in those few moments that you shared together. And the other cards may not even be turned over. Those were things they didn't need to hear. And if you missed saying, if you missed saying something, so be it. They weren't meant to hear that. And this went on for a little while until I could say, you know, don't be so afraid. And this represented the sleeping pills, because if I read for too many people at a session, oh my goodness, it got too much and it was draining. So now we'll go on to the Queen of Blades. And I got to push pause again for a second. Now this one, the Queen of Blades, sometimes I felt like that. I had to be very direct and say what I needed to say at points. And the cards can be very blunt at times. And I had to be very truthful. I couldn't tell them what they needed to hear necessarily or wanted to hear. I had to give them the facts. And this one talks about, to me, on the desk, there's a reference book, a computer, a microscope, and test tubes. while more books line the shelves, showing she's a researcher that values knowledge. And yes, I have to show you that book that I created that I took around with me. And this card certainly represents that. I had my book of reference, and it was there if I needed it. And I carried it with me every time, up until about a year after I was reading, and then I didn't feel I needed it. But people were very forgiving. I would say, hang on a sec, I'm having a difficulty with this one card. Do you mind if I get some more information? And they were quite open to that. Now, this one was very interesting. Now, this relates to the readings themselves, I find. The first question people ask as sitting down at the table, will it hurt? Well, I try to explain some of the more difficult cards like the Hangman and the Death card and the Three of Swords and the Ten of Swords just to ease their mind. So there might very well be 7 cards that I would talk about to someone who's a newbie to getting cards read, just to ease their burden and help them make their decision and get over the agony of it. So then we go on, she talks about, I'll draw the design, but creating something to be proud of is a collaborative effort. This is where I found the card spoke of, I'm not here to preach to you about what the information is in the cards. We're here to have a conversation. And your insights are welcome, because that's how you're going to remember the whole thing. And that's how I learn. It's a learning experience for both of us. That was neat. Okay, now the 9 of coins, that takes you back to what I was saying earlier. You know, to treat myself and enjoy that, yes, I made a little bit of money and I can be proud of that. And that's the idea of we create what we want. And me sitting there enjoying a lunch after for the hard work, the hard labor that I had performed, with the mysteries that were revealed, and trying to read my book and relax before I went home. And this card gets into the criticism that we can find ourselves feeling when we're out and about. I had a couple instances where some students of a religious private school stopped by, and I was being friendly and had a conversation. And it quickly turned on me. It got very difficult because they said I was doing something wrong. It was against what God wanted. It was against the church. I had instances where some older women would come in, some with, I felt sorry for them. They had their own issues, but they took it out on me. They didn't like what I was doing. They went to the counter and tried to get me banned from doing what I was doing in the restaurant. And as I say, the emperor of the store defended me. But it can get brutal out there, and people can toss nasty things at you as a tarot reader. And then here we end up with the Sun card. Sorry for the jittery. I am sort of nervous today. But this is the Sun card, and this is the one that I relate to the feeling that Poppy Palin put into the cards. To me, this represents her, the sun, bring a little bit of brightness to everybody's day. And the bird for messages and this wisp of golden that she has left behind. And the sun will come out tomorrow, I promise. No matter how tough or bleak things are today, it will rise again. And there were those moments at the coffee shop as a reader that were kind of bleak. You didn't get always someone to come to the table, and always there was that difficult reading. And she goes on to say, despite my limitations, I always saw my future with intense clarity. I knew I wanted to be a tarot reader. And every door that's opened for me has done so through my own diligent application. I took my skills out and I did the best I could. So this card celebrates all those who shine in dark places, helping us appreciate the resilience and the radiance of all beings. So there we go. I feel quite emotional. So a couple of deep breaths later, I'm back, and I want to send a thank you out to everybody. I hope if you want to be a tarot reader that you can find the courage to do so, because it is most rewarding. And coffee shops do allow us to catch up with people who normally wouldn't come for a reading, but they see you sitting there, the table is set, your smile radiates, and that's the way it should be. So I wish everyone a fantastic day.